What you were bringing up with Joey is a real good point, that a lot of people say, oh, I just want to sort of, they're kind of dabbling in the idea of improving themselves. And the real way to do it is you got to write down what the fuck you want and then go after it. Because otherwise you live in sort of a wishy-washy world. You know, if you decide I'm going to get down to bang, I'm going to do this, I'm going to run a marathon in less than 5 hours, I'm going to, you know, whatever the fuck it is, you got to write that shit down and go for it. What I tell people is the best advice that I've ever heard, it's the best advice I ever came up with, is that live your life like you're the hero in your movie. And right now is when the fucking movie starts and your life is a shitbag disaster, like every fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he wakes up and makes a blender full of pizza and ice cream, and that's what he, you know what I mean? Yeah. Those guys where they're like on the brink, they put the gun in their mouth and they put it down because they see a photo of their daughter. Pretend that's you. Pretend you are, right now, you're in the part of the movie that starts and it shows you as a fucking loser. And just decide not to be a loser anymore. Live your life like there's a documentary crew following you around and you are analyzing your own behavior. Do what you would want to do so that your kids one day would look back at it and see that documentary and look on it with pride. Like, wow, my dad was a bad motherfucker. He really did what he had to do. Wow, my mom really got her shit together. I love a success story. But even more than a success story, I like a dude who fucks his life up and then gets it back together again story. Those are my favorite stories. And the way to do that, you got to write shit down. You got to think that you are the hero in your own fucking movie, and then you got to sit down and you got to write shit down. Write down what you need to do.
Most people play the role of the victim in the movie, right?
Sure. Yeah, this life is fucking me over, man. I could have had this and I should have had that. And why does this guy get that? And why does that guy get this? And all things that are completely unrelated to you. Yeah. All things that you find other people's success as a downfall in your own existence. Instead of being inspired, instead of choosing to be positive, instead of like improving constantly on the direction of trying to achieve whatever the fuck you have written down, you just sit around and spiral. You know, there's nothing more miserable than sitting around someone who's fucking complaining all the time. It is one of the most annoying things ever. Everybody hates it. When someone just sits around and they complain about their life and they don't do jack shit about it. And you tiptoe around it. You don't know what to say. Well, she gets upset when you bring that up. I don't want to bring that up. And you want to go, you fucking crazy bitch. You know what's wrong with your life. Yeah. Stop announcing it to everybody else and go out and fix that shit.
And that's tough love.
Tough love is what everybody needs, absolutely. Me included.
After I heard your album and that Voodoo Punani song and all that stuff, and I went home that day. See, you don't know this. I never told you this. I'm glad I'm talking about this because I listened to your album and I had to leave early. I got out of there and you couldn't understand. You got mad at me. You called me up and you go, you just left without saying bye. You just took off. You know why I took off? I couldn't handle being around you because I was so not only inspired, but I went, my friend's doing something really special here, and I know I have something in me, and I'm not living up to it. And being around him is reminding me of the fact that I'm not living my fucking life. And I remember you called me and you were mad, and I made up some excuse like, I started telling you like some excuse, and then I went, dude, I got to be honest with you. You fucked me up a little bit. I said that song and that your jokes were so awe-inspiring to me. And I went home and I started writing. And so that's what happened to me. That was a huge catalyst for me. I went home and started writing because after I heard that song and after I heard those fucking jokes you were coming, those goddamn this was I don't know how many years ago.
99.
They were so fucking well formed. You were such a tidal wave. It was like an example for the first time where I saw an artist just peak, come together, and just put out the power you were putting out was so retarded that it was changing the whole fucking room. People were like, what the fuck? This guy's writing songs, he's doing. And I remember going, I gotta taste some of that. I gotta have some of that. I gotta get the fuck out of here.
I get that still.
That's what you need, man.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that in your life, you gotta find it.
Yep.
Either surround yourself with friends who do it. Go to TED.com.
Yeah.
Do whatever you have to do, man. Find it.
Yep.
It's out there. And the beautiful thing about the technology, and this is for young people, is that you can spend your time listening to music and reading about what Lady Gaga wore to the gym, or you can fucking open your mind to a whole world out there. To a whole world out there. To a whole world out there. To a whole world out there.
And it's important to not give in to jealousy. When you see someone doing something that you're not doing and you feel like, fuck, I'm not doing, there's an instinct to protect yourself by bullshitting yourself and becoming jealous and bitter and talking shit about that person. And that's where haters come from. What haters are, 100% of all haters in the world are unrealized potential. When, like, Michael Jordan's not a hater, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, like, when you get to a guy at that level, they're not haters. The real haters are
There's no time to hate.
They see someone doing well and it bothers them. To a person like a Michael Jordan or a winner, they see someone doing well and it inspires them to take it up another notch.
I've always tried to look at things like that. When you see something great, and if it's a friend of yours or something, you have to use it as inspiration. It's supposed to inspire you. I think what happens is a lot of times they say, well, you know what, there is scarcity in the world, so there's only a certain size of the pie, and if you're doing this, you've taken up all the pie and there's no room for me.
Yeah,
not true, man.
Not at all.
There is no scarcity.
It's a terrible way of thinking.
If you open yourself up to something beautiful and great and let that work through you and really be affected, be astonished by it, be scared by it, be brought to your knees by it, whatever it takes, you will find way more strength in that surrender to the beautiful than you will when you close yourself off. And all of us, man, all of us had this notion to go, I'm closing myself off. Fuck this.
Everybody wants to win the lottery, but the lottery will fucking ruin you. You have to earn the whole thing. In order to be a real man or a real woman, you have to earn the whole thing. And the crazy thing is, to be the man, to get to that point, to be the man, you literally have to not ever be possibly the man, because you have to get to this Zen state where there is no the man. It's all about the work. It's all about what genius you're putting out is all about, whether it's music or whether it's writing or whatever the fuck it is. It's all about finding that real pure place. So there is never the man. That's when the muse kicks in. The idea of this all comes from somewhere else. It's like maybe it is just an attitude that allows you to bypass the ego. Brian, you've inspired people. This is a good podcast. You know, I've talked to so many people, and I talked to a lot of them this weekend. We did the Irvine Improv, and it was a lot of fun. And we talked to a lot of people that are podcast fans. And one of the things, the number one thing that keeps coming up is these people say that, first of all, a lot of people listen to it at work. They listen to it when they're doing stupid shit that they don't like doing, and they just love the fact that there's something like this out there. And two, they say it gives them an opportunity to look at things completely different. And it's shaping the way people think, man. There's a difference between what we're doing here than the sort of the average radio show and the average podcast. Is we're not afraid to talk about weird, deep shit and go and because of that, it's allowing other people to consider possibilities and ways of thinking that I don't think they would have.
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
Only you know, really, if you did your best, if you put out the maximum effort to try and achieve the result. And only you should be able to judge yourself. Only you should be able to judge yourself.
You gotta fuel yourself with the fuck ups. And most people get stuck in these patterns because they define themselves as a fuck up. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. The people that I know that have the hardest time keeping it together emotionally are people that don't work out. I don't know if it's a coincidence, but the people that I know that have the hardest time emotionally are people that don't work out. And the people that I know that do work out, especially the ones that work out hard, they expel these big giant bursts of energy where your body's like almost dying. You're heaving, your heart's pounding in your chest, you're barely able to lift this piece of metal up again, you're barely able to jump up on this box again. And by putting yourself in that intense form of stress, it makes regular life more peaceful.
That is a shocking thing about exercise. Sometimes when I'm depressed and I finally like drag myself out of the house and go to the gym and just run and sweat, and then I'm in my car and I feel great, and it's like, really? That's all I am?
We have a certain amount of requirements that our body needs. It needs to move around. It has to. If it doesn't, it atrophies. It becomes fairly useless. Like, you have to keep it moving. And to really appreciate the movement of it, you have to push it really hard. You push it really hard. It's like a drag racer, or like a race car that you could develop into a race car. You develop it just by pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and it becomes a race car. Or, if you let it sit alone, it becomes a really junkety old shit box that can't start anymore. I mean, it literally is almost that simple. When I eat like a lot of fresh vegetables, when I make like kale shakes and make sure that my diet is clean, I feel better. My fucking brain works better. My body works better. I feel better. Like, there's a dull feeling when you're eating cheeseburgers and fries and you're not getting any real food. There's a dull feeling to life. Write down what you would like to fix about your life. And then just, if you're 30 pounds overweight, you want to lose 30 pounds? Do it the right way. Go start eating vegetables, monitor your calories, write down what you eat, exercise every day, force yourself to do it. Say you're the general. The brain is the general, the troops are the body. The troops don't want to listen, but you go, fuck you, you listen. And you get up and you do it. Figure out whatever the fuck you need to do to get your mind right. Because it doesn't matter how much money you make, it doesn't matter anything that else is going on in your life. If you don't have your mind right, if you're not thinking about life clearly, you're gonna make some shitty, stupid decisions. Get it together, bitch. Just because you've been living this life the same way as everyone before you, as your father and all these other corrupt politicians, it doesn't mean it's justifiable. Just because you can find examples all around you of people who have done worse and people who are doing the same things, doesn't mean that's supposed to continue. There's got to be a way to stop it. It doesn't seem to be stopping with the evolution of culture. Our entire civilization is built on a foundation of unfixable bullshit. Our evolution, our cultural and social evolution, is so much slower than the evolution of technology. We're able to communicate with people all around the world. We're able to fly in fucking tubes through the sky. We're able to send video through the air. You know, we're able to watch television programs that are being broadcast from the other side of the planet. I mean, we have this incredible technological capabilities, but socially, we're just a bump ahead of where we were in the 50s, just a little. The life that leads you to be your dad is not where it's at. When you watch your dad drop dead of a fucking heart attack at 55 and you scarcely can remember him laughing 3 times ever, you know, and you go, what, I'm supposed to be that guy? What the fuck is that? Our main problem as human beings is that we are in a stage of evolution, in an adolescent stage. We have potential to rise above that, to get to the top, to have just a little better view of what the world could be. And I think that's the potential that we have inside of us. We need something. We need something right now. Because the way we're doing it, we are just spinning our fucking wheels. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I think people that hurt people's feelings, even if you justify it, you know you did something. And I think that fucks with your head, and it devalues you in your own eyes. You're not a hero in your own eyes. You're not someone who you respect. You know, you're doing what you got to do to get by, but ultimately you're not respecting yourself. And I think we all have a certain amount of appreciation and respect for hero figures. You know, like we all look at like the guy who never lies and always does the right thing and fucking helps everybody out, and that's the John Wayne character. You know, that's the ultimate hero. And when you look at your own life and you don't stack up, you're a thief, you stole money from your wife's purse, and you know you don't want to smoke cigarettes but you fucking have to, you can't deal with the stress, you smoke, you devalue yourself. You slowly start devaluing yourself. When you look at yourself, you realize that if you were judging yourself, you would judge yourself unfavorably. If you're stealing, if you're hurting people, if you're damaging 100%. People. So no matter who you can't pretend you're the hero of your story. You can't. You have to be the hero of your own story. And you can do that. You can be the hero of your own story that woke up today. You can be the hero of your own story that at 40 years of age stopped, got out of bed, and said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm doing this differently. 100%. I am going to figure this out, and I'm going to do it only by my instincts and only by my morals and my ideals and my mind, and I'm going to be dead honest with myself because I'm realizing this is not going to last forever. And I'm going to be the nicest fucking human being to everyone I meet, possibly, and I'm going to get myself in shape, and I'm going to eat healthy. And I'm going to do this because this is me now. I decide that this is me. And people have to realize that you are not your past. You are not all the times you fucked up. You are not all the times you couldn't get it up. You are not all the times you were drunk and you threw up in someone's car. That's not you. You are the person who's learned from a great deal of experiences. And if you learn correctly and if you process them correctly, you'll have a happier life. You know, the human race is stuck in a giant quagmire when it comes to our behavior and our thinking about our behavior. But there comes a certain point in time where you have to pop the training wheels off. And you have to recognize that all this morality that you've developed is good because it's good to treat other people good. It's good to treat other people the way you would like to be treated yourself. It's like a fucking golden rule, and there's a reason for it. And that reason is that we're connected in some strange way that we don't totally understand. And unless you are good to other people around you, unless you're kind and friendly and warm and loving, you're not going to fucking enjoy this life. You're just not. What else? Do what you want to do with your life, right? Don't go be doing something you don't enjoy. Don't do something don't get locked into, a car that you can't afford and doing something crazy because you need the money. Don't do that. Do what you want to do. What the fuck is it that you really want to do? And now it's time to live. You got to figure out a way to enjoy this fucking life. It's not because of Jesus. It's not because of Moses. It's not because of anybody that may or may not have ever existed. It's because that's how you fit in better in the world. That's how you stay positive. And it doesn't have to be some shit that was written 5,000 years ago on fucking animal skins. That doesn't have to be the golden rule because it's old. That's dumb. We need to figure out, like, now, today, what is, the best way to live your life? What is there's got to be ways you can be putting forward the most positive energy. I mean, we know objectively what's causing pollution. We know objectively what's causing birth defects and we're taking in too much chemicals and not enough vitamins. We know objectively all this stuff. We know how to organize our world, and yet we don't do it. We know how to organize our health, and yet very few people do it.
I live with the fact that there's some people that love what I do, and then there are some people who are like, I'm fucking baffled. Why is this motherfucker still here? So I get it. Yeah. I get that love it or leave it, or love it or hate it, really. I mean, I'll take love it or leave it.
You're a perfect example. What you just used, though, is a great example. What's special about this whole thing is that a guy like you saying that, that you're a love it or leave it guy. But if you weren't you're look, if you weren't a guy who has his podcast sponsored by the Fleshlight, a guy who puts out a podcast on the internet way before anybody, and a guy whose most recent movie, you just said, well, kind of fuck everybody. I'm just going to do this on my own. Do it and release it my way. Fuck the entire system of it. A guy like you really wouldn't exist any other way.
No,
you know,
you can't. It's kind of, you got to go.
You're the ultimate love it or leave. You're doing it your way.
Play it with passion. Do it. Here's my philosophy, and it's everybody's philosophy. It's not even an original one. One life, you fucking die. That's it, and you don't know what's on the other side. And we hope for this, that. We hope for Candyland, but we don't know. It could be as simple as get in the box and stay there for all of fucking eternity. You had your shot, your computer, we shut you down, and you're finished. So if that's the case, it behooves you to shoot for your dreams every time. I know it sounds a little dopey and Tony Robbins-ish, but
it's real.
It's real. Like, in a world where you're gonna fucking die. Like, this is the way I think about it. And it's an example that's real close to home. My old man was a good dude. My father, good guy. Not many good men in the world. This was a good fucking guy. Worked at a post office, canceling your fucking stamp. What a soul-killing, horrible job that is. For years, just to pay for a fucking family. Who knew if he had dreams? Maybe his only dream was to, like, get married and have kids. Work maybe wasn't a big deal to him, and he did whatever he had to put food on the table and stuff like that. Good dude. Take me to matinees every Wednesday. Go see a movie. Take me on a school half day. Go see flicks and whatnot. Not one of these parents that fucks around with a kid or something like that, where you're like, oh, he was all good, except there was that good straight arrow fucking dude. Went to church because his wife made him, but wasn't big into the church. Fucking mowed his mother-in-law's lawn all the time. Good guy. Good guy, raised 3 good kids, or at least 2 good kids in me. And so my father, we go out to eat one night. He's about 68 years old. We go out to eat at Morton's in Philadelphia. And it's one of those special nights, man, where the whole family winds up being the same place. Hadn't been that way in years. My mom, my dad, me, and my wife's with me. My sister and her husband, and she lives out, and at this point, I think she was living in Kobe, Japan, or something like that. So she's rarely back in the States. And my brother, he's married to a dude, but his husband wasn't with us. He didn't make the trip that time, unfortunately. But there we are in a back room at Morton's, and eating, having a great time, chit-chatting. And the old man's putting away steak, cheesecake. He's had a couple Manhattans. That was his fucking poison. And you could tell, and I don't even paint this in retrospect. It was clear on the night. Parents love seeing their kids all in one place, happy, healthy, not fucked in the head or something like that. And you could tell he was enjoying it. There were his kids shooting the shit. Everyone's trying to make each other laugh and shit, trying to make him laugh. Since everyone's paying attention to everyone else, maybe nobody's paying attention to him eating maybe too much cheesecake that night, but fuck it, we're all having a good time. Put him in a cab that night, kiss him on the head. It was like, hey, man, I'll see you in the morning. He'd come out to Philadelphia to see me do a Q&A at the Wizard Comic-Con, Philadelphia Wizard Comic-Con. Off he goes in the cab, go home, and I go to the hotel, go to sleep. I get a phone call at 6 in the morning from my brother, and my brother's like, you got to get down to the hospital on Walnut. And I said, why? He goes, Dad. And now my father was in and out of poor health. He was diabetic and whatnot. He'd had strokes, heart attacks, and stuff like that. He was bad health, dude. So when my brother's like, Dad's in the hospital, I'm like, okay, what now? Fucking throw a rock and Dad's got it. And my brother, you could hear it in his voice. He was just like, you got to get down here right now. And I was, oh shit. And I hung up, got dressed, went down. I get to the emergency room, open the door. First thing I see is my mother, who looks more scared than I've ever seen a human being in my life. Fucking terror on her face. I've seen my mother cry in my lifetime. I've made my mother cry in my lifetime. I've watched her cry watching fucking Falcon Crest when I was a kid. This was different. This was like terror. Fear, almost like there was a fucking gun to her head. And off of her face, I looked to my brother, and my brother just has this expression where he just kind of gives me the slow nod, which is, he's gone. My father was dead. And I went in and I saw him on a gurney and shit, and it was so strange. And I go outside, and I was a smoker, like cigarette smoker in those days. I go to have a cigarette, and Donald comes out, and I was like, this is a shock, and whatever, we were upset and stuff. And I said, how was it? because he was there. I said, what happened? And Donald tells me the story of like, Dad woke up and had this like big reaction, like just like, I'm hot. He was throwing the sheets off, and Mom freaked out. She's like, what's the matter? And she told Donald, call the ambulance, call the hospital. And he was gone within seconds. So that's, bad enough. He was hot and uncomfortable. You don't want to hear like, oh, he died in his sleep and we woke up and he just didn't. But then my brother says this thing probably defined my life. My brother goes, he died screaming. And I go, what? And he goes, he died screaming. And I was like, I mean, is that a figure of speech? And he goes, no, he died screaming. And you could see my brother was haunted by it. And my father wasn't like, I wouldn't say he was a butch man or a strong man, but he wasn't a soft man by any stretch of the imagination. And I never heard him get real loud or anything like that. And the notion of my father dying screaming changed my life, because I was like, even a good man in this world, you play the game, you play it straight, you play it by the rules, you do everything you're supposed to, you're going to die screaming. And at that point, I was like, there's no point in not trying to accomplish every stupid fucking dream I've got. Even if it's dumb shit like fucking, oh my God, I've always wanted to collect this many fucking Wayne Gretzky cards in one fucking binder. Or if it's like, I want to make a movie. Or if it's like, I want to put on a podcast. Or I want to do a TV show now. Or I want to write a book. Chase it all down. Chasing whimsies is what I've been doing for the last few years. Just smoking weed and chasing whimsies. Anytime I'm like, back in the day, I'd have a good idea, something I really wanted to follow through on. And so you can get scared. You start thinking about what some motherfucker's going to say and be like, oh, it's stupid. Why would you fucking do that? And fucking why? A lot of why people in this world. I try to surround myself with the why nots, motherfuckers. So you're like, I want to try this. They're like, why not? Let's go. Let's give it a shot. You got to be game, man. People help you achieve your dreams and shit. So for me, the last few years, I've just been trying to accomplish every dopey dream, the big shit, the little shit. You got to do them all. You can't just do the climb every mountain shit. Sometimes lay the bar down, step over it, and be like, ta-da, so you feel accomplished. But chase it all and do it all, because we're all going to die screaming. And you might as well enjoy it here. And when I say chase it all, don't fucking do it at the expense of someone else. Obviously, don't hurt somebody else. But go after your dreams, man. If your dream is to like, I want to kill 12 children, I'm not talking to you. But go after your dreams if they're not going to hurt anybody.
What you were bringing up with Joey is a real good point, that a lot of people say, oh, I just want to sort of, they're kind of dabbling in the idea of improving themselves. And the real way to do it is you got to write down what the fuck you want and then go after it. Because otherwise you live in sort of a wishy-washy world. If you decide, I'm going to get down to bang, I'm going to do this, I'm going to run a marathon in less than 5 hours, I'm going to, whatever the fuck it is, you got to write that shit down and go for it. What I tell people is the best advice that I've ever heard, it's the best advice I ever came up with, is that live your life like you're the hero in your movie. And right now is when the fucking movie starts and your life is a shitbag disaster, like every fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he wakes up and makes a blender full of pizza and ice cream, and that's what you know what I mean? Yeah. Those guys where they're like on the brink, they put the gun in their mouth and they put it down because you see a photo of their daughter. Pretend that's you. Pretend you are, right now, you are in the part of the movie that starts and it shows you as a fucking loser. And just decide not to be a loser anymore. Live your life like there's a documentary crew following you around and you are analyzing your own behavior. Do what you would want to do so that your kids one day would look back at it and see that documentary and look on it with pride. Like, wow, my dad was a bad motherfucker. He really did what he had to do. Wow, my mom really got her shit together. I love a success story, but even more than a success story, I like a dude who fucks his life up and then gets it back together again story. Those are my favorite stories. And the way to do that, you gotta write shit down. You gotta think that you are the hero in your own fucking movie, and then you gotta sit down and you gotta write shit down. Write down what you need to do.
Most people play the role of the victim in the movie, right?
Sure. Yeah, this life is fucking me over, man. I could have had this and I should have had that. And why does this guy get that? Why does that guy get this? All things that are completely unrelated to you. All things that you find other people's success is a downfall in your own existence. Instead of being inspired, instead of choosing to be positive, instead of like improving constantly on the direction of trying to achieve whatever the fuck you have written down, you just sit around and spiral. There's nothing more miserable than sitting around somebody's fucking complaining all the time. It is one of the most annoying things ever. Everybody hates it. When someone just sits around and they complain about their life and they don't do jack shit about it. And you tiptoe around it, you don't know what to say. Well, she gets upset when you bring that up. I don't want to bring that up. And you want to go, you fucking crazy bitch, you know what's wrong with your life. Stop announcing it to everybody else and go out and fix that shit.
That's tough love.
Tough love is what everybody needs,
Absolutely.
me included.
Here's reality, and this is where it's going to sound really strange. I mean, look, Obama thought he was going to change things. Look what happened when he got into office. Guy wins the fucking Nobel Prize and then sends 30,000 more troops to Afghanistan. If he really thought that he was going to be able to do anything differently once you get in office, once you get in there, you kind of understand. You're dealing with a machine that is just fucking beyond your comprehension, so intertwined with corruption. But this is what you can do. What you can do is what we're doing. What you can do is what anybody out there is doing who's showing a more positive example and giving you a more fun and happy way to live your life. You inspire people to potentially live along those same lines. And that's what you can do. And that's what you can do with art, and that's what you can do with writing, and that's what you can do with any form of expression, and that's what you can do if you express yourself and let people know that that's how you're living, and this is the fun way to do it, man. You don't have to be a cunt. You don't have to be a douchebag. You don't have to be out there raping the world. Like, that's not the right way to go about it. It's not fun. You just need a lot of people to recognize that vision and see it and realize, hey, we are only here for a short amount of time. If you go around saying it's all about me, living life like a fucking douchebag, when it's all over, you're going to have just a wreck of a life. You're not going to be enjoying yourself. You're not going to be having a good time through this fucking thing. If we can all recognize that, we really could put this place in a different frequency. We really could make human beings respond and behave on a better level than we're doing now. But the only way that we're going to do it is to electrify the young. You gotta get in their head. You gotta inspire these people. There's people out there that are hearing some of the shit that you're saying, the shit that Brian's saying, some of the shit that Duncan says on this podcast. They're hearing all this shit, and it's ringing in their mind. They're hearing Eddie's stories. You know, when Eddie starts talking about jiu-jitsu and breaking down life and breaking down his own ability to figure out things. And, when people hear about shit like that, man, it gets you thinking. And you start questioning, like, how have I been managing my life? Have I been doing the same thing? I will now be inspired to manage my life in a similar fashion and live in a happy, positive way, and don't get stuck in some fucking trap. And don't think that this thing isn't permanent, because it's not permanent. If you go around living like, you can just keep up with this shitbag life, and eventually someday you're going to get a nap. You're going to get a point in your life where you can settle down and relax. But that point's not fucking happening, man. That's not going to happen. Shit begets shit, and it's just going to get worse because your health is going to fail on you. If you really want to change the world, you have to inspire young people. That's how you change the world. The world isn't people that don't have mortgages. The world isn't people that can still create new things. The world isn't people that can still take chances because they don't have to worry about coming home to take care of their kids. The world is in chances, man. You can still inspire chances. You can still inspire thinking. You can still inspire positive energy. Keep it together, bitches.
And our problem is
Listen,
we don't
let's get
look
down
at
to
the
fucking
world.
dirty.
We don't look at our life. We don't look at our existence as, what is the most important thing? Well, the abundance of happiness, love, no. We look at it as money. We look at it as money as the number one most important thing. And the more of that you can accumulate, the more you're correct.
Yeah.
That's something that has to shift. Money is just simply a part of a good equation. And really, the money that you need to be happy is enough money so that you don't have to think about money. It's an ironic thing. You want enough money so that you can eat and have a roof over your head and be able to enjoy the comforts of home, a nice couch, and normal shit. That is really the money that you need in this life to have happiness, health.
Yeah.
And money to support health, money to support nutrition, money to support shelter. And once you have that is everything. That is where real happiness comes from.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, but yet you have millions and millions of dollars, you're sick. You've missed the point.
Yeah.
You've missed the most important part of the equation. The most important part of the equation is companionship, friendship, love, happiness, safety, shelter, community. All of those things first, then more money. I mean, if you really can become some Richard Branson baller who seems to have good karma and yet has a spaceship, I mean, more power to you.
Yeah.
The guy seems to have good karma and yet still has these amazing things. But more important than anything is the first aspect of it. So when you see someone who's fucking completely miserable and they're rich as shit and they're evil as fuck, that's a huge disaster. That's just a huge imbalance and a huge fuck up for them. Like, they don't understand. You got to give up some of that to achieve happiness and peace and love and friendship and community. And it's still possible.